Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. And today we're gonna do the first installment. It's almost a teaser of the oncoming session, including the two Studer A820s side by side. And in that installment we're gonna analyze the differences between the two models, and we'll try to understand how good that machine really is and what it can do for you. There is no question that this particular model holds a particular very high esteem among people familiar with tape recorders, and for a very good reason. It really represents the pinnacle of reel-to-reel professional machine development. Once you had a chance to play with a machine of this caliber and put it through its paces, it's not possible not to fall in love with its operation. It is incredibly smooth and incredibly advanced. Yes, there are some features that you might not like, specifically the way the transport operates upon loading tape and before you start it, but those are minor, I would say, inconveniences, and you should be able to easily overlook those once you get familiar with the machine. Now, I've been lucky enough to have two machines in my stable, and if you look closely at the two of them, you will immediately spot some differences. And I'm not talking about the tape preamp sitting below the machine on the right. That's a totally external difference. In essence, the machine on the left is also expecting the similar conversion to the direct output. It just has not been done yet. But it will be. It is supposed to be scheduled at this point. But other differences include the lack of bridge on the machine on the right. That's what immediately grabs your attention. And generally speaking, I do prefer the machines without the bridges, because simply put, they add less junk to the signal path. The signal path tends to be on the shorter side, and therefore it's supposed to produce better sound. And usually, all other things being equal, that would be the case. But we'll talk a little bit more about it later. The other difference that you might be able to see once you spend some time examining this image is the reel sizes. The machine on the left is the most standard configuration, and in that configuration it can handle the 14-inch reels. You can see one installed as a take-up reel right now. Well, 14-inch reels look very impressive, and they sound very impressive. But the question is, do you really care? As the machine on the right only can handle 12.5 inches, is that a big limitation? Well, I don't think so. Number one, the machine on the right can be modified to do 14-inch reels. All you have to do is basically remove the top cover and move the motors sideways a little bit to the next position, which is already provided there. I have not done it for the simple reason that in this case you would need to obtain new top cover, which is potentially very, very hard. And also, I have plenty of other machines capable of 14-inch reels. Maybe 5 or 6 different machines that can do this type of size. And in reality, I don't remember when was last time I used such a size reel. So in practicality, this reel size is not a limitation. And if one day I suddenly felt the urge to play with these 14-inch reels, I will certainly have enough machines around here to provide this function. If I only had one machine, the one on the right, would I modify it for 14-inch? The answer is probably yes. But since I have the one on the left as well, there is no pressure to do that. Now, there is another difference between the two machines. The one on the right, that is normally called the BBC machine. Apparently that was the configuration ordered by the BBC company. And that machine is limited to 15 inches per second speed. The one on the left is a quote-unquote full function machine, and it can play 4 speeds up to 30 inches per second. That is very nice. But kind of the same situation applies here as it applied to the real size. How often do I play 30 inches per second tapes? Yes, I have some, but do I play it often? Not really. And also in the same vein, I have several machines capable of 30 inches per second, so I would not have any problem playing those tapes. Now, we are considering the machine on the left as a standard here, and I would say it is, except there is some minor situation there. That machine also has deviated from its stock form. Essentially, somebody who used to own it before modified it in such a way as to disable the uncalibrated output or input controls. So right now the controls are there and the push button switches are there, and they appear to be working as they should. They even activate the corresponding LEDs. You can see those LEDs lit now. But if you go to unbalanced, you still get the same level and no variation, no control over it. Is this a good modification? I would say yes. It is kind of halfway between the bridgeless machine on the right and the standard configuration, where you still have the bridges, and the bridges will work during recording and during playback, but the uncalibrated function is disabled. So all your controls have to happen externally. And I would say, again, I like that particular modification. It bridges the gap between the two machines to some degree. Of course, the machine on the right also has another one up its sleeve, and it is the modification to have transformerless outputs. The machine on the left has the standard output cards. And for the life of me, I'm still unable to tell you which one is better. I've heard people's opinion going both ways. And at this point, I have to say, I don't have enough cockpit time with Tudors in their original and truffle-less configurations to really know what I prefer. So be it as it may, this is what we have. Standard transformer configuration output on the left and truffle-less output on the right. Overall, there is one inescapable conclusion. This machine is incredibly complicated and incredibly advanced. So if you can afford one or find one, go for it. It is a very, very nice machine to have in your stable, even if you're not going to be using it full time. It is incredibly soothing to touch it, to operate its control, to watch it in its operation. It is really a jewel of the tape recorder design. Yes, I know a lot of people still prefer the MPEX machine, and that's a very, very different beast. We spoke a lot about that particular ATR 102 models before, and I still love those machines. I still use them. For example, that's my main dubbing pair from one ATR 102 to another. But Studer, especially the one with the tape head preamp, the one on the right, is gaining more and more of my attention lately. And with all this said, let's just enjoy the music for a couple more minutes, and hopefully we'll come back to this pair with a little bit more analysis and comparison. See you at that time, and for now, goodbye. So I hope to see you next time. Perhaps we will continue the discussion of this very nice pair. And until then, please stay well and see you next time.